Welcome to Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. It's July again, and that means it's time to see where things are at in my 4 years out and on HRT check-in. Hi, I'm Tilly Bridges, your host, and I'm joined by my writing partner, my best friend, my wife, our token cis representation, the drums backing my electric guitar, Susan Bridges.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
I am definitely the drum.
You sure are. Our guest this week is Rachel Kendra, a photographer, filmmaker, and writer based in Los Angeles who has worked in the film and television industry for over 15 years. As a photographer, she has shot everything from headshots to events to real estate, but her favorite is capturing behind-the-scenes photos on film sets. Past film projects have included writing and producing duties on short films and web series. She is also a video essayist and is currently working on a documentary about the making of a feature film by another trans filmmaker. Like many recent late bloomers, she began her transition during the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so as your transition began in just the last few years, but you've been working in the entertainment industry for far longer, how did that go for you? Was it smooth? Did you run into any issues?
Well, they haven't interacted that much, to be honest, because, obviously my work kind of stopped when the pandemic happened.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then, because at the time I was mostly an event photographer and doing some headshot photography in my own home studio. And obviously neither of those things could happen once the pandemic hit. And I had to move over to doing stuff from home. So I worked on a lot of live streams and things.
Sure.
And then as, things started to open back up again, I haven't resumed my film work to quite the same extent, barring a couple of specific projects that happened last year where I got to work on films that were made by trans filmmakers, which was really incredible. But other than that, I haven't actually had, my transition and my work in film haven't really come into conflict all that much. Also because a lot of the work that I've been doing in entertainment since I started my transition is mostly post-production stuff, so I'm just doing it from home.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And also the industry is in the process of collapsing right now.
Right.
There's also that, yeah.
After it opened back up after lockdown, it was so weird and broken. And then there was the strikes, and now it's even more weird and more broken. So
it was really the collapse of streaming. And
that has happened as well.
Yeah, so it's all just a mess. It's
sure
very
is.
heartbreaking. I moved out to Los Angeles to work in the film industry, and when I got here, it had already started dying, and now it's completely different from what I thought I was getting into.
Yeah, same for us.
We have so much to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have to have lunch after this.
Yes, we do.
Please,
we could talk about the industry for a long time.
I know. I think it's so funny too that it's so LA that that we are meeting each other for the first time on your podcast.
Yeah, we live in the same town,
and we're like, oh,
yeah. That's very LA.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for you, what has been the best thing about transitioning?
I would say, there's so many things. It's kind of everything. More specifically, though, the level of confidence that I have in myself is night and day.
Yep.
I used to be, I'm sure you can relate. I used to be this very I was a very nice, but very quiet guy who didn't want to I didn't want to call attention to myself. I never wanted to be the center of attention.
Yep. It's very familiar.
Which people thought was weird because I'm a Leo. So a Leo who doesn't want to draw attention is weird. Now, though, I am like Leo to the bone. I am very attention seeking. I love being the center of attention. I love compliments. I love all that stuff. And I think the thing that is most representative of that is the fact that I I love to dance now,
Me
whereas
too.
I didn't before. Like I
Same,
was
same, same.
yeah,
Yes.
I was so uncomfortable in my body. I was literally afraid of dance floors.
Yeah.
Because, whenever I told somebody that I didn't like to dance, they would always be like, "Oh, no, it's okay. Nobody cares what you look like. We all look dumb when we dance." And like, first of all, it's not true. Second of all, I didn't know how to explain to people that it was more than that. It wasn't just a
Yeah.
fear of looking dumb. It was like a visceral revulsion to the idea of expressing myself freely with my body.
Yeah. And being seen doing that too. It was like I couldn't.
I was, yeah, and like, a number of times because I was a very cute kid, adults would like drag me out onto the dance floor. And it happened a number of times, and it was like low key kind of a traumatic experience whenever that
Yeah.
happened. So I went through most of my life, like whenever there was an event or a function with a dance floor, I would leave and go someplace else. It's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why like I took up smoking so that I could have a
A
an
reason to not be there.
excuse.
A reason to leave.
Exactly. A reason
Yeah.
to leave, and I would just go hang out with the other smokers, and that was what it was. Now though, you just try and keep me off the dance floor. I
Yeah.
love it so much, and even better, I'm good at it too.
Oh, I need some
I
lessons. I am not good. I don't know what I'm doing, but I love doing it anyway.
I
So
can help you out. Yes. Yeah,
lessons.
that has been I think the biggest change and the biggest joy that has come out of all of this. And my attention seeking and being good at dancing very much go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
I pull
That's
a lot of
great.
attention on the dance floor.
I love that. Now I got to see you dance. Okay.
It'll happen.
So, yes. All right. So, on the flip side of that, what has been the worst or most difficult part of transitioning for you?
It's hard to say, really, because I feel very lucky in terms of a lot of things. There are a lot of things that most trans folks have to go through
Yeah.
during their transition that I didn't. Like, I didn't really lose anybody.
Yeah.
My family
Same.
is very accepting. My friends were all very accepting. I'd kind of purged anybody who wasn't a kind and accepting person
Yeah.
well before this. So it didn't really come up. And I get misgendered a lot of the time because I
Sure.
don't try and be high femme.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have to be. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
But I get why, because most of the misgendering that I get, especially being in Los Angeles, which is a much more, queer friendly city than a lot
Yeah.
of other places. It's not perfect, obviously, no place is, but most of the misgendering that I get is, it's like when I go into a store, I go into a restaurant or something, like, if I pay for something, my dead name is still on my credit card, so they see that.
Yeah.
And if I go into a store or something, the clerk at the store has to speak to me formally, so they have to gender me as soon
Yeah.
as they see me, and they do it in a fraction of a second, and it's not an intentional thing, and they're not going through this whole process of like trying to discern my gender. They have to use whatever markers they can see or hear, especially if I speak, my voice sounds the way it does still. They they're not doing it intentionally, and because I'm usually not wearing makeup, I wear makeup not very often at all,
Yeah.
and I still kind of dress the way I did before because like that's the sort of lesbian I am. Like I'm usually wearing a flannel shirt or something, and I'm sort of dreading the summer as it's coming because my wardrobe is designed for like fall and winter. I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of summer stuff.
That is strange for being in LA where it's like summer for 8 months of the year.
Kind of. It's such a weird thing. I mean, I think we're in first summer right now because
Yeah.
it'll cool off again, or at least that's what it usually does, and then it'll ramp back up into like all the way into October,
Yeah.
and then we get wet fall, which is our winter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've never been Despite being a Leo, I've never really been a summer person. I'm more of a fall person. So I get that kind of stuff, but I guess this is sort of foremost on my mind because it happened recently. I'm just sort of coming out of the tail end of my period. And what happens to me during it is my feelings about myself revert back to the way I felt about myself before transition, which
Yeah.
was, like I'm a pathetic loser and a feckless piece of crap. And anybody who says they like me is just lying to my face and I'm worthless. And
Yeah.
like all that stuff just comes flooding back like once a month. And it sucks because I hated being that person.
Yeah.
And I was so glad to be rid of it
Yeah.
when I started transitioning. But it comes back once a month now. But now that I've kind of recognized that this is what's happening and in that it's quite literally a cycle,
Yeah.
I'm able to recognize it when it happens. And I can't get myself out of it necessarily, but I am now able to tell myself that it's not real and that it will pass.
Yeah.
And that I just have to like ride it out as best I can, try and practice some self-care, and I'm gonna get through it.
Yeah. It helps to know that like in a few days it will go away. These are not real feelings. So yeah, I have been there too. Well, before we get into the rest of this week's topic, let people know where they can find you online if they'd like to learn more about Rachel after listening.
Sure, you can find me on social media at Rachel X Kendra. I'm not particularly active. This is strangely timed because I kind of just stopped using social media. Like I'm still there, the accounts are still active, and I can still be reached, but I don't have notifications turned on anymore, and I don't check them very often. This is sort of a process of getting control of my mental health
Sure.
again.
It can be rough out there sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Especially when you're trans and especially
Oh,
when,
yeah.
you just put something out into the world and people think they know better and they got to tell you about why. And they often do so in ways that are very unkind.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. But at Rachel X Kendra on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, I think those are the ones that I still go back to from time to time. And or you can visit my website, rachelkendra.com, which has links to all of the other places that I might be.
Excellent. All right. For the folks listening, if you would like to chart my entire journey on hormone replacement therapy and my entire journey being an out trans woman, you can start with my 1 year and 2 years out and on HRT retrospectives at tillystranstuesdays.com. And then the 3 years out and on HRT retrospective was in episode 29 of this show. Year 4 was wild for me because after the devastating setbacks I had last summer, I switched my estrogen delivery from pills to injections, and holy crap did that re-kickstart body changes. See episode 28 on transition setbacks if you missed it. One new thing I had to deal with this year that hadn't happened in quite this way before was a nasty, loud, public encounter with a very nasty transphobe. Previously, all I've had to deal with was accidental misgendering and all the staring at me that the uncomfortable cis do. It was sadly inevitable, I think, but that doesn't make it any more pleasant to deal with. I talked a bit about it in the Trans Tuesdays on the 2022 U.S. Trans Survey Report in episodes 69 and 70. We'll get to the new developments, pun intended, from HRT in year 4 in a bit, but I'm going to follow the same order of talking about things as I did last year just because it'll be easier for me to see where I was and that if anything's changed since a year ago. As I said, I am still on injections and I'm really happy with the dosage I'm at, both for my estrogen and progesterone. If I can maintain these levels for like the rest of my life, I would be elated. Physically and especially mentally, I've never felt better in my entire life. I've talked about this every year check-in retrospective that I've done, I think, because it's still the largest issue I'm dealing with in terms of transition. I still have to shave every morning, super close and against the grain, over and over to remain stubble and shadow-free all day. It doesn't cause me dysphoria to do it due to changing how I did it, thankfully, but it does make me dysphoric to see the stubble in the morning that grew overnight. Sadly, there's still nothing I can do about it because COVID is still real and my lovely wife Susan here is still immunocompromised and I cannot be unmasked indoors with strangers for the dozens and dozens of hours that laser hair removal and electrolysis takes. I really wish capitalism and the people running our country hadn't just decided to pretend COVID was over so rich people could make more money again. And selfishly, yeah, because it's prevented me from doing absolutely anything about the one source of dysphoria that I seem to still have. But more importantly, because it's abandoned every immunocompromised person and basically barred them from public life. That's sadly not new for the disabled community, but it's starkly awful to see it done so clearly and publicly, just how society isn't interested in protecting the most vulnerable. For more on the difficulties of transitioning during a pandemic, see the Trans Tuesday on that very topic at tillystranstuesdays.com. Okay, Rachel, so in your bio, you said that you began transition during the pandemic too. And so how did that impact things that you've been hoping to do transition-wise? Did it slow things down?
Not really. At least I don't think it has. I mean, I suppose I have no basis for comparison, right? I started during the pandemic, so I don't know what things were like before. But my insurance is, I'm a freelancer. I've been a freelancer for my entire career, and my insurance is terrible and doesn't cover anything. Oof. So I get my HRT injections shipped through the mail. I use folks.
Yeah.
So I just went to them directly. I didn't have to go to a doctor's office. I'm not dealing with insurance for it, which has been very freeing. The downside, of course, is that I pay retail for it.
Yeah.
Which is rough. But the experience of being able to just sign up, talk to somebody on Zoom who was like I didn't have to justify myself or anything. They were like, oh, okay, you want HRT? Would you like patches, pills, or injections? I was like, well, that was easy.
That's how it should be.
It's really how it should be. And it is if you can afford it.
Sure.
And in certain states, folks isn't available everywhere. It's getting better, and I think they've expanded since I started. I started a little over 2 years ago, but still it is not accessible to everyone. I did what voice training I have done. I also did over Zoom with the Seattle Voice Lab. So I've been able to do a lot of this stuff from home. There was certainly a delay in terms of being able to go out and meet trans people in real life, and not just through, social media or Discord or whatever, because that's fine. But, especially as I move into this phase of not being online quite so much.
Yeah.
Having people, friends in the real world that I can meet up with has been really great. And it took a little while for that to become a thing that I could start doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it has been too much of a hindrance, I guess. But like I said, this is the only way I've known how to do it. So
yeah. One thing that really bugged me about it was trying to find clothes because I couldn't go try stuff on. And so you just had to, order and try it. And you're like, I don't know what sizes I am, even with measurements. You had to it was really hard to figure out. It would have been so much easier if I could have gone to a store. So that definitely slowed things a little bit there.
Right. Yeah. It helped me in that area that I haven't needed to change all that much about my wardrobe.
Yeah. You're lucky.
Yeah. So well, in the first year of my transition, it was a little bit more difficult because I didn't know. And in that first year, especially, I was trying to be very femme. I was wearing makeup all the time. I was trying to wear femme clothes. It was really important to me, but it wasn't until after that first year had sort of come to a close and I reassessed, I kind of realized that this attempt at being hyper femme was me just sort of pushing and trying to explore where I was and what was comfortable, because I didn't know
it takes
I'd
time
only
to
been a woman
out.
for a year. I didn't know how to do it.
So absolutely.
So I kind of realized after a year, I was like, I maybe don't need to be trying quite so hard to do this. And also, maybe just the kind of woman that I'm transitioning into is a butch dyke, and that's fine.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back into where I'm at with things, my body hair growth has slowed even further after switching my estrogen to injections. It's still bad enough that I have to shave everywhere once a week, but it's not as bad as it was before, and I haven't needed to go back to weekly epilating, thank goodness. There is a Trans Tuesday on body hair at TillysTransTuesdays.com for more on my struggles with that.
You've covered everything on this show.
I try. We're going to talk about it all.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. My feelings on, on being trans, and one of the strong feelings that I have about being trans is that I think the best way for people to understand us and for us to understand ourselves is through education.
Yeah.
So which is why when cis people ask questions, especially if they come to me like, is it okay if I ask questions? I'm like, yes, please. Let me tell you about my people. Because I want people to understand us, because the more they understand, the less weird they'll feel around us, the less because it's really just, I think most cis people want to understand, they just don't know like what's okay to ask, what isn't okay.
Right.
And so my policy, as long as somebody asks me a question in good faith and genuinely wants to hear the answer,
yep,
I will talk about this stuff as much as they want, which I know you feel. You build a whole podcast around it.
Yeah. Well, it's, also like I've said this many times on this show, but I'm much more privileged than so many trans people are in so many ways. And so I want to use that to help, because a lot of people, they're struggling with so much that they don't have the time or the energy to answer all those questions, even from other trans people. So I thought I'll just do what I can because I can. So if we can help, then I try to do that. Okay, photos and reflections check-in. You can start with the initial Trans Tuesday on photos and reflections and why they can be so tough for so many of us. And then you can see photos too, the selfie apocalypse. When 2.5 years into HRT, my face had gradually changed enough so that photos just stopped causing dysphoria. Both of those are at TillysTransTuesdays.com, but I will eventually be revamping them and bringing them to the podcast here, along with a third installment so many people have asked me to do, so stay tuned. But what's interesting is that photos have somehow gotten even better for me because estrogen injections changed my face even more in the fall and winter of 2023. You can kind of see it shift in my photos, I think, or at least I can. I think it's super clear in the new addition to my transition timeline photo, which you can see in the Google Doc version of this topic, and it makes me so happy. I never thought I'd see me. And then I did, and it was a miracle, and now somehow it's even more me, and last year I wouldn't have even thought that was possible. And not in a I'll never get there way, but in a I already see myself, so what more could there be to see way? I thought that was where the end of seeing myself in photos and reflections journey was, but there was another extra bonus, extra credit step, and it delights me to no end.
Yeah, that never gets old.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like every 2 to 3 weeks, I look in the mirror and I'm like, there's something different. Something's changed. And I'm like, I get closer and closer to, like, I don't know. I don't have a picture in my head of what I want to look like. I'm just sort of enjoying the changes as they go. And I recently hit the point now, just like a little over 2 years on HRT, where I'm starting to have trouble seeing the guy I used to be in the mirror. Like I have to look for him now, which is very gratifying.
Yeah, there were times early on where I would occasionally, from like the wrong angle or something, see him, but I don't anymore, even at those angles, and that has been a really amazing thing. So
and looking at I looked at the timeline photo that you posted in that Google Doc, and the difference between the first picture and the last picture is so huge.
Different humans.
Incredible.
It's
totally
entirely different humans.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it. Another big change from last year is that I don't struggle with video anymore. I still haven't tried recording and posting my own, but at this time last year, seeing myself in video was pretty dysphoric, and it's not now. So maybe that's due to the further facial shape changes that I just talked about, or my voice, or the combo of the two being way better than before. And I will talk more about voice in a little bit. But if you want to see ways in which my inability to handle seeing myself in video, especially if it was being recorded for everyone else to see forever, affected me, see the Trans Tuesday on performative allyship and how incredibly harmful the refusal to accommodate trans people's needs can be. That is also at TillysTransTuesdays.com.
And I just want to complain that, like, who knew our future was going to have so much video?
Right?
So much video.
Right?
I'm like, are you serious?
Especially as writers.
I hate that.
We should not have to make videos. We are writers.
Yeah, I don't like it. Okay.
Yeah, I feel this. This is also why, if you visit my YouTube channel, I posted some video essays and then it stops, a couple of years ago, and I haven't posted anything since, which is unfortunate because it means all of the videos on my channel have my dead name on them and my old voice.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to take them down because I think they're good videos.
Yeah.
But the reason why I stopped is because I realized that I needed to be doing more than what I was doing. I had this idea of the kind of video I wanted to make, and I felt like I kind of nailed it the first time out, which told me I wasn't being ambitious enough. And I was like, well, okay, I went to film school, so I have all of these skills and I'm only using the post-production side of things. I need to be shooting stuff. This is YouTube. I need to be on camera. Pre-transition me was like, okay,
yeah,
I guess I need to be on camera. And then after that is when I started transitioning. And then it made it even worse because I was like, okay, well, I need to get back to this. But like, okay, do I want to transition on camera and have that be a part of this video catalog? I mean, there's an interesting thing about that in terms of documenting it all, but also, I don't really want to do that. And I just sort of got decision paralysis and then never continued making videos. But they will be back at some point because now I'm much more confident in seeing myself. I don't know about on video so much. I haven't experimented enough with it. But I will be getting back to it, and I will be on camera for it.
Well, don't rush it. Whenever it feels right, that's the time.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, body hacking check-in. See episode 9 if you need more info. I am still exercising 4 times a week, but it's been 2 runs and 2 strength training workouts. I just haven't had the time to work 2 more runs in because the writing Susan and I do has kept me too busy, but that is a good problem to have. And I really should have included photos of my exercise progress in past year retrospectives because it would be really cool to track it. But anyway, my arms are more buff than they've ever been, and I have abs now. It's wild, and I love it. You may ogle them at your leisure in the Google Doc version of this retrospective.
Lord knows I have.
Oh, well, goodness. My hair is still super important to me and makes me feel like me. It used to be my favorite thing about my body, although my arms and abs are now right behind that, as are a couple other body parts, but we will be getting there in a few minutes. You can see the growing importance of my hair and what happened when I got my first real haircut in the 2 Trans Tuesdays on it at, say it with me now, TillysTransTuesdays.com. My hair hasn't changed except for getting longer. I love it, and it's perfect just how it is. And maybe I'll want a different cut someday, but right now I can't imagine that happening. It's so perfectly me, and I love it in every way. Have you found any kind of importance or affirmation through your hair, Rachel? What's that been like for you?
So much. My hair is so important. I started letting it grow out in the pandemic prior to my egg crack because I was like, I'd basically gotten the same haircut my whole life and it just never changed. And it wasn't a bad haircut or anything. It was just, it wasn't great. And then, it started getting really long during the pandemic and I did get I couldn't go see my stylist anymore, but my sister who lives nearby came over and we did it outside. She cut my hair. And I was like, okay, this is fine. But then it started getting long again. My hair grows very fast. And I was like, you know what would happen? I don't need to go out. Nobody's seeing me except on Zoom. What if I just let it grow?
Let's just see what happens.
Let's just see what happens for fun,
For fun. No reason.
No reason. So I thought I would, let's see what this looks like. So I started letting it grow out. It got longer and longer. And then once I started transitioning, I was so glad I had done that because it meant that I could, just having it being able to frame my face differently really changes your perception of what your face looks like. Because especially in that first year and a half, when I put my hair up, I was like, oh, the guy comes back again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't like that. So I have it down again. More recent than the last like 6 months or so, it's gotten to the point now where I put it up. That doesn't happen quite so much anymore.
Yeah.
But it was super important for that first year, year and a half in perceiving myself as a woman
Yeah.
rather than being this like man struggling to like, become something else.
Sure. Yeah, I think folks don't really realize how much hair can reshape your face because, like, when I began transition, I thought that facial feminization surgery was maybe something I would want because I was really unhappy with how my face looked, and you never know what kind of changes you're going to get from HRT. But between the HRT and my hair, and especially the bangs, it changed my face so much that I feel like I don't need that now. I'm so happy with how everything looks. So it's really remarkable what it can do. So I've always mentioned that to other trans ladies out there, if they are considering facial feminization surgery, you may need it and it may be great for you, and that's wonderful. But see what your hair can do first because it's so much easier. Try different styles and see if it can reshape your face and make you happy enough. And if not, then get the surgery, and maybe because you never know what might happen.
And hormones take a while.
And hormones take forever. Yeah.
Yep, they do.
Even though they're like, oh, rushing into transition. Well, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all wish we could rush into it, but it does not.
It does not work that way.
No, it does not, unfortunately. Yeah. And it's not just long hair. I mean, long hair, because we think of long hair as more feminine, it helps in that regard, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Like a really nice cut on shorter hair can also do a whole lot to change the way you perceive your own face. Like,
and the way other people perceive it.
And yes, like, a really well done pixie cut can work wonders on certain kinds of faces. You know? Doesn't have to be like this long flowing hair. I mean, personally, I want hair like, all the way down my back.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like a mermaid.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case for everyone.
Right.
Some people look absolutely stunning with short hair.
Yeah. And I also want to say that I know several bald trans ladies and they are stunning. So you don't have to have any kind of long hair or short hair or any kind of hair. It's all whatever you feel like, what is best for you. So
also true. Yeah. And that's a really important point. I think you feeling good about the way that you look is the most important thing.
Yep.
And this hairstyle or that, just because it works for somebody else, isn't necessarily going to work for you, because the way that you perceive yourself is very different from how other people perceive you.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the things that I wish people who are trying to be supportive would know, like going back to the facial feminization surgery thing.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of trans women talk about how they want it, and people will try and be helpful and reassuring and be like, oh no, you don't need it, you're so beautiful.
Yeah, it's not about what
it's
you
not
think.
the point. Yeah, it's not about, because when we look at ourselves, we cannot be objective in what we see. We are seeing the imperfections. We are seeing the things about ourselves that we don't like, and they are amplified in ways that other people don't see. So while it may be true that, you are very beautiful in the eyes of other people, you still might not see that yourself because you are looking at different things and you have other concerns about the way that you look. And so whatever you can do to make yourself feel better about the way you look to yourself is what you need to do.
Absolutely right. And before I move on real quick, I just want to say if that also includes if you want to wear wigs, you can do that. And there's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't mean you're not trans enough or anything like that. It's totally fine if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So
tons of trans
whatever
women
you
wear
need.
wigs.
Absolutely. So does tons of cis women. So it's fine.
Also true.
Yeah. Okay. I've had my tattoo for a couple of years now. It was still relatively new at the 2-year check-in, and you can read about the entire process of deciding to get it and why it took so long in episode 55 on Bodily Autonomy. Last year, I mentioned that photos of me without my tattoo, post-transition me, I mean, not pre-transition me, felt wrong even though the photos weren't spiking my dysphoria. And last year I said I might write about it if I ever figured out why that was. Well, the good news is I have figured it out, but I haven't written it out just yet. It's on the list for future Trans Tuesdays, though, so keep an eye out. Okay, confidence check-in. The initial discussion about that was in episode 31, and you can also see Confidence 2, Into the Unknown, aka A Whole New World, aka What is Happening When I Could Really See It Start to Shift as Transition Progressed. Not only has this continued without faltering from last year, I've realized just how much it's grown when Susan and I here redid our wedding this year to have one with the real me, and the difference in me from the first dysphoric one to the second euphoric one could not have been more stark. Check out episode 72 on a trans re-wedding for more. Voice check-in. Last year I did a series of episodes on trans voices, that was episodes 45 to 47, where I talked about my fascinating journey through gender-affirming speech therapy, finding my true voice, and culminating with an interview with my speech-language pathologist, including the science behind it and tips for people who are practicing on their own. Last year, I was pretty happy with where my voice was at, but my stamina for it still sometimes faltered, and occasionally my voice would still slip. But it got better enough that I was able to launch these Trans Tuesdays as a podcast and begin recording the audiobook for my book, Begin Transmission, The Trans Allegories of the Matrix. That audiobook is now complete and can be purchased by you, and it was a ton of work and took forever, but I did it. I feel like my stamina now is even better than last year. My voice almost never gets tired, though it still does a bit toward the end of long role-playing game sessions that I run where I've been talking for 4 hours or more straight. And I think that's pretty true of anybody's voice. But sometimes it's still hard for people to hear me speaking through my mask when I'm out and masked, and I'm much better at resonance and being louder now, though I feel when I am louder, my voice doesn't always sound quite the way I want it to. So I'll probably be working on that a lot more in the year to come. What has your relationship with your voice been like, Rachel? You mentioned that you did some training, and is it not where you want it to be yet?
Oh, not even remotely. But that has much more to do with my own practice and diligence than it has to do with my
It takes so
training.
much work and
It's
time.
so much work. Oh my God. And I've always had a very particular relationship with my voice. I mean, all trans women have, but growing up, my voice was one of the things that really stood out about me, that I felt like came from me and wasn't a thing I was putting on for the benefit of other people. Like, it was a thing that people were like, wow, and were very impressed with me, and it was a thing that came from me. And so I always really liked my voice for that reason, but it was an incredibly deep masculine voice. And I'll dip back into it.
You don't have to do it.
No, it's okay. I don't mind.
Wow.
This is how I used to sound all the time. And when, as a cis man, this is a very impressive, sexy voice,
Yeah.
But then when I started transitioning, I was like, well, I don't really think that's going to work for me anymore.
Yeah.
And, it was actually, my relationship to my voice in this way almost triggered an egg crack over a decade ago.
Wow.
And this is just a testament to how deeply in the closet I was at the time, because I was driving in my car and a story came on NPR about trans women getting vocal surgeries to change their voice. And I was listening to this and I was like, I'd never heard of this thing I didn't know we could do this. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that people can get this. I wonder what it would be like if I got that. I kind of want that. Oh my God, why do I want that?
Oh, there were
What's
no
wrong
signs.
with me? Yeah, no, there were no signs at all.
Yeah.
And I nearly had a panic attack. I was freaking out about this so much because it was like the only thing about myself I actually liked, and I wanted to change it. What's going on? But I was so I had these automatic mental processes that would just shut down any thoughts or feelings about myself that didn't conform to a specific idea of masculinity.
Yeah, sure.
And even the near panic attack where I had to pull the car over and deal with it for a second, even that got shut down, and I didn't think about it again for a decade, which is part of the reason why even though I started transitioning so late, I don't really regret not transitioning sooner. I'm sad about it, but I don't regret it because given where I was at and the fact that my brain could shut even that down, I physically couldn't have transitioned
Sure.
before I started. So, I kind of have to forgive myself for not figuring it out sooner because I wasn't in a place where I could.
Yeah.
Now, though, like going through the voice training, I picked up I picked up the basics and the practices very quickly, but actually executing them and going through having the patience and the diligence to practice all
Yeah.
the time is the thing that I have trouble finding. I have ADHD and it's hard to get myself to do it. I try and do it casually whenever I get the chance. I do talk to myself all the time when I'm thinking things through. And so I try and catch myself when I'm doing that. Like, no, if you're going to talk to yourself, do it in the voice,
Yeah.
practice. But even then, it's still, it all just takes time.
It takes
And,
so much time.
and I have felt improvements since I went through those lessons. Like it's easier for me to dip into it.
Yeah.
I can more easily recognize when I'm dropping out of it and get myself back into it. And it just I get a little bit better at it. And, as time goes on, I will continue to get a little bit better at it. The stamina thing is a
Yeah.
really important part to bring up. That's the most difficult part because I can get back into it, but maintaining it
Yeah.
is such a bear. It is
It is. Well, like
yeah,
if folks out there have not listened to those episodes, the reason that the stamina is so hard is because you are retraining muscles that you've never used for your whole life. And so it takes a really long time to build up the strength in them so that you can maintain all of the techniques that you learn. So like the techniques, most of them are pretty easy to pick up, but yet it's so hard to just get them out there and be able to keep doing it until it becomes second nature. So yeah, it takes a very long time.
it does. But the thing that I keep telling myself is that, your natural voice, as it were, is not really what people think it is. It's not this hard and fast thing that you can never escape. It's a habit. And like any other habit, you can change it with
Yeah,
enough patience and diligence. It's just that your natural voice is a habit that you've learned and has been cemented for a very long time, which means it's
exactly.
a very difficult habit to change.
Yeah, right. And also, before we move on, I will just say nobody has to change their voice if they don't want to. It's all about
Also
what
true.
is good for you, how you want to sound, not what other people think of your voice. So,
It's true, but it's the same thing with it's the same thing with the way your face looks. It's
yeah,
if your voice makes you feel dysphoric and you want to change it, then change it. If
yeah,
you have no dysphoria about it, don't change it. I mean,
yeah,
gorgeous trans women who still have their old voices, that's so hot.
right.
Let's
It
be
is.
honest, it's
It
so
really is.
hot.
Yeah. I
So
love
there's
the confidence that it exudes of, I don't care what you think about my voice. This sounds like how I want to sound, and that's all that matters. Ooh, so good. Okay.
yeah, exactly. And a low voice is sexy regardless of your gender.
So let's talk about what other body changes I've seen since switching to estrogen injections. Last year, I mentioned I got into a B cup in breast growth after 1,000 days of HRT, and it's true, I counted. And I had tiny hip development and still nothing in my butt. Well, this year I got to a C cup in less time than it took to get to the B, 336 days from B to C, in fact. The girls are still sadly far enough apart that I think never the twain shall meet, the wrong puberty making my shoulders and torso more broad are to blame for that, but I can
Mood.
deal. Yeah. It was a small C, but still a C, and now it's a slightly bigger C. I'm nowhere near needing to go up a size again, but they are definitely more noticeable. There are fully clothed photos of that in the text version of this that will confirm should you require that confirmation. And it delights me to tell you that my boobs are indeed now tied with my hair and my arms and my abs from my favorite part of my body, even though they're oceans apart and maybe still not as big as I'd like. Both of those latter things could be fixed or helped with top surgery, and I've considered it, but Look, every time I see them in the mirror as I'm getting into the shower or whatever, I just love them because they're mine. I grew them. They're all me. They're what was always coded in my genes and just needed estrogen to flip the switch telling them to grow. And so I find them remarkably beautiful because they are just what they were meant to be, even if they live in different zip codes due to the wrong puberty mucking up my chest. And they're still growing, so who knows, we'll see. I'll probably revisit the idea over time and just see how I feel, but right now, they seem pretty perfect to me.
And like the other day, I hugged you, and you were like, ow, because they're growing again.
Yeah.
That's great, babe. And she was like, oh, yeah.
It's good pain. Good pain.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself whenever they start hurting. I'm like, no, this is a good thing. It hurts because it's working.
Yeah, exactly. You get that thing where you bend over and it feels like gravity's trying to rip them off your chest.
Yeah.
Okay. I was also incredibly startled to discover that I have a butt now. I mean, yes, technically I've always had one, but it was flat as a board back there. Pretty sure I've complained about it in every past year check-in that I've done. The weird thing is I had no idea it had happened. I mean, how would you, I guess? We don't look at our butts all that often, or do we? Anyway, this spring I put on a dress.
We do now.
Yeah. I put on a dress that it hadn't been warm enough to wear for like 6 months, and as I was walking out of the bathroom, I caught sight of my profile in the mirror, and gosh, guess what else there's also a fully clothed photo of in the Google Doc version? And about that quote-unquote hip development, since I could finally see them, I figured they must have gotten bigger. Since I needed to remeasure myself with the newly expanded bust line, I remeasured my hips, and they're the exact same as they were when I started HRT 4 years ago. They didn't get bigger, but my hips rotated to be in line with cis women's, which is why you can actually see that I have small hips now, even though the measurement hasn't changed. This happens in some trans women due to changes in the tendons and is exactly what cis women go through during puberty too. This is, like so much of trans life and healthcare, anecdotal. Plenty of cis doctors will tell you this cannot happen and is impossible, but those doctors also say the effects of progesterone on trans women are inconclusive, and so very many trans women who've been on it will tell you otherwise. For a whole lot more on how trans healthcare is just like this because cis doctors don't care enough to study us to get answers, see episode 20 of this podcast on anecdotal trans healthcare. You can see hips on me now and you never could before, even though the circumference around them is the same, and skirts that I used to be able to pull up over my hips I no longer can, but the measurement is the same, so clearly they've changed position, and it certainly explains why my hips were so sore for a long time. I don't know what else to tell you. The human body is a wonderland. Also, regarding HRT-induced body changes, I don't know if I've mentioned this in one of these yearly retrospectives before, but I get periods now. I get the same cramps, moodiness, food cravings, etc. that many cis women do. Mine is not entirely regular, meaning some months I get one and some I don't, but it's fairly often that I do, and it's a known thing that can happen to trans women, as Rachel even talked about earlier. And if you don't see how that's possible, know that cis women can still have cramps even after a hysterectomy, so clearly a uterus is not required for the joy of cramping. Cis doctors again seem to think this is impossible or just don't believe us, and that's sadly just par for the course. I know so many trans women who get them. Before I got them myself, I don't want to say I didn't believe that it happened, I was just stymied as to how. Well, now I get them often, and they're terrible and hurt like a mofo, and I'm still stymied as to how. But it definitely happens to a lot of us, along with the moodiness, which for me can even be slightly alleviated with chocolate. I'm such a cliche, but it's true. Again, see the anecdotal trans healthcare episode. All of that is caused by hormones. So when the dominant hormones in your body are estrogen and progesterone, in some of us, that stuff's just going to happen. So what have all the physical changes of transition been like for you, Rachel? Are you seeing everything that you want? Are you hoping for more still? Where are things at?
Like with my face, I'm trying not to have specific expectations.
Sure.
Because I don't really want to I don't want to face the disappointment of not hitting those expectations, but also so much of my life was defined by setting boundaries for myself and trying to fit myself into them. And kind of the whole point of my transition spiritually is to not do that anymore.
Yeah.
And just sort of let things happen the way that they do. And I've been pretty happy with the progress so far. I don't love the way that my breasts are shaped right now, but the size of them is is pretty good. And if I start going on progesterone, I'm sure like the shape part of it will probably start to take
It
care of
can help.
itself.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I've been talking about with my clinician and folks. I'm probably going to wait another year to see what, estrogen continues to do with my body. And if
Yeah.
I'm still not satisfied with it, then I will probably start taking progesterone as well. Yeah, as far as like, the butt and the hips go, I have noticed my butt hasn't gotten bigger necessarily, but there is more roundness there.
Nice.
And my hips haven't changed size, at least I don't think. I'm not as diligent at tracking all this stuff as you are, but I have noticed that the shape of my waist has changed, which has
Oh,
accentuated my hips a little bit more.
okay. Yeah.
So there's a little bit more like a slightly more of an hourglass thing happening. But I've also carried a little extra weight around on me, which is definitely helping with, breast development
Yeah.
and getting around her butt and everything. Because this is a thing that I think a lot of trans girls don't really realize, that, if you want estrogen to redistribute the fat on your body, you have to have fat on your body to redistribute.
Yeah.
Like these, like lots of skinny girls are like, I've been on HRT for a year and a half. Where are my boobs? Where's my butt? I'm like, my sister in Christ, a Slim Jim, Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and a Monster Energy is not a meal. You need to eat real food.
Yeah.
Like, get some protein in you. So I was starting at a place where I had a lot of fat to redistribute. But the best change, I think, has mostly been in my face, because prior to taking estrogen, I would get like fat would sort of collect around here, and I would get like, multiple chins and that kind of thing. And it was always one of the things that I really hated. Whenever I looked at myself in the mirror, I just kept seeing this, and I was like, that's not what I want to look like. And on those occasions when I did try and do some active weight loss, I saw it disappear from here, and I could see my jawline and everything. And that was really nice. But now HRT has started doing that work, and in the redistribution of fat, it has taken it away from here and put it to other places. So even without losing weight, my jawline is so much more visible than it used to be. And like, I actually weigh more now,
I
about
do too.
15 to 20 pounds more than I did when I started HRT, but I like my shape so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the exciting things for me was like the little bit of fat that I have around my belly shifted, and now it's carried the way that cis women's is carried and not cis men's. And I was like, that was so exciting. I'm like, I love that little tummy. It's so good. Yeah. I have noticed one part of my body now that I'm kind of newly unhappy with, and that's weirdly the backs of my hands. My hands are pretty big, and that doesn't bother me, but sometimes the backs can look kind of veiny. I don't know. To me, it makes them look sometimes like a bit more dude-like than I would prefer. But unless my E decides it needs to store some fat on the back of my hand for some reason, I don't think there's anything I can really do about it. I feel like I've honed in on my style really well, but it took me a good 3.5 years to settle into what clothes and presentation feels like me. See episode 33 of this show on finding our trans style for more on how mine is cutesy, girly, sporty, and that is okay. As I mentioned last year, I do still very much wish I'd started chronicling changes earlier, by which I am referring to all the years I knew I was trans before I came out and chose to transition. I basically knew in 2015, but waited to come out and medically and socially transition until 2020 for a reason that is one of the few things I will not talk about publicly. Anyway, do check out my new timeline photo, which tracks me from pre-transition and then day one of HRT and on through today in the Google Doc version of this topic. I think you will be as surprised as me. Thanks for being here, Rachel.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Somehow, I'm still becoming a truer me than I've ever been, and that's absolutely amazing. What a gift transition has been. For all the difficulty and all the struggle, it's worth every single second for each step closer we get to being true and authentic to who we are. It's okay if you don't know who that is yet. It's okay if you figure it out along the way. If I can do it, so can you. I believe in you. Tilly Bridges, End transmission. Tilly's Trans Tuesdays is hosted by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges with audio editing and sound mixing by Jillian Morgan. The Google Doc and social media versions of this week's topic and all past topics are available at tillystranstuesdays.com. Special thanks to Daisy and Jane for the use of Sorry Not Sorry as our show's theme music. Please stop by and show your support at daisyandjane.bandcamp.com and soundcloud.com/daisyandjane. You can find me at Tilly Bridges on Bluesky, Twitter, and Hive, on Mastodon at tillybridges at mastodon.social, at facebook.com/TillySBridges, and on Insta and Threads at HeckYeahTillyBridges. And you can find Susan on most of those at Susan L. Bridges. You can find Jillian at Audio Jillian on Bluesky. You can join the Tillyverse Discord server by following the link at the very bottom of tillystranstuesdays.com. We hold regular watch parties for the Matrix films and other trans movies where I do a live Q&A, and it's blossomed into a wonderfully supportive, compassionate, kind community of friends. We'd love to have you join us. For more information, visit pendantaudio.com. Thanks for listening.